Well, welcome to a special episode of Scouting for History. Today is all about a really important topic. You know, a lot of people go out and they get a metal detector, and the first thing they do is they ask the question, where can I go detecting where I don't need permission?
It's a bullshit question.
Well, Ms. Vito has a point. But you know, when I first started, I was in the same boat. The whole idea of, what do I just go knock on someone's door and say, hey, do you mind if I dig a bunch of holes in your yard? It just seemed crazy. Who's going to say, sure, go ahead? And at the same time, just think of the dynamic. It's real hard for most people to approach a stranger and ask for permission. And it's real easy for a stranger just to tell you no. Today I'm going to share with you the 9 things that I did to get my permissions. So if you're new to my channel, check out some of my videos. I do 2 or 3 adventures a week. Most of the time it's private property permissions. So I have well over 100 permissions a year for the past couple of years. So today I'm going to share with you how I got to the point where I have so many permissions. I've been meaning to make this video for a long time. Now, 2 weeks ago I had surgery on my shoulder, so I'm out of commission for a couple of weeks. Don't worry, I've got lots of videos lined up in the queue, but I've got lots of permissions sitting and waiting too. So stay tuned, here we go. So just a word before we start. These are the things that I did. I didn't go into it with a plan. It just sort of evolved this way. It worked for me. All of these things may not work for you. Your individual results may vary. But if you can pick a couple of things from this list and make them work, then hey, more power to you. But I'm here to tell you, yeah, there's stuff in parks and places like that. There are things in the parks where you don't need to knock on a door to ask for permission or anything like that. But the pickings are slim, and it gets harder and harder to find stuff in those parks. Never hunted out, but it gets harder and harder. They've been hit for years, so it's much more rewarding to learn and to grow and to have fun in yards, from what I've found. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you learn something from it, and I hope you get a lot of great permissions too. Leave a comment, let me know your thoughts on this video, and hope you come along on the next adventure. See you then. So in between the points, I'll share some of my favorite clips. So here we go, off to number 1. So to start with, number 1 is your yard. It's the correct answer to the question, where can I detect without permission? It's the only place, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole in this video. Your yard is the perfect opportunity, the perfect place to start. Grid it, pound it, change settings, change your coil if you have a different coil. Try everything. Go east, west, go north, south. Your yard is the great place to practice. Practice learning your machine, learning the signals, and especially learning how to dig targets without destroying the grass. That's real important if you want private property permissions. You don't want to get a bad reputation before you even start. So, number 1, start with your yard. And while you're out there, that leads to number 2. Well, it just goes to show you, you gotta dig those iffy signals. So I got a really odd 50-51 signal, and I was tempted to walk by, but I got this little silver thing. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it is silver and it's engraved, so we'll clean it up, see if we know whose name is on it. All right, stay tuned. So while you're out there detecting your yard, the neighbors are sure to see you out there. Stop and talk to them, show them what you're finding, tell them about your new hobby, and I am sure, as long as you get along good with your neighbors, they will let you detect their yard. So it doesn't really matter where you live. You live in a 1980s suburban development built on an old burial ground? Don't dig too deep. But seriously, it doesn't matter. This is not just more practice learning your machine. This is practice asking people for permission. So going to people you know, your neighbors, and asking them, hey, can I detect your yard? It's all part of the process. On to number 3. Well, I'm not sure whether it's a bullet or not. It certainly looks like one, but I don't know whether they're hunting elephants back here or not. That thing is enormous. I'll clean it up and see what we got. So number 3 is think of your close family and friends, anybody in the area that you feel comfortable talking to about your new hobby. Again, just like the neighbors, show them what you're finding, tell them about what you're doing, and make the ask of them. Again, they're not really strangers, are they? You know them really well. It's harder for them to say no, so you're breaking down that dynamic of hard to ask a stranger, easy for a stranger to say no. A lot of that dynamic is gone. So family and friends, really great opportunity. Well, it's day 2. Just came back to clean up at this house. It was pouring rain yesterday when I left, and I do believe I just got a ring. So I'll clean that up and you'll see it right here. So moving away from people who live around you and people who are close to you or related to you to extended social networks. So, for example, in my situation, my wife is a volunteer at church. She does a lot of work with the church, so she knows all the members, she knows people throughout the town. So she has been a big help in making connections to people here in town to be able to detect their lawns. Me, I've been a scout volunteer for a long time, so former scouts, prior scouts and current scouts, people in town who have a connection to scouts. It's amazing how many people you meet through an organization like that. So all of those connections gives me an opportunity, because now I'm not really a stranger anymore. Now they know me through scouting, or they know my wife through the church. Now that part of the formula has been eased, right? I'm not asking a stranger. I'm asking someone with a connection, someone in scouting or someone in the church, and then it becomes harder for them to say no if they know who I am or what, how they know me. So just think of your extended network. By this point, you've extended out beyond close friends to people you may have met or know by sight or whatever, and it's getting easier and easier, getting more natural for you to make the ask, and more people have seen you around town. The more yeses you get, the more confident you get, and the more natural it gets to make that ask. If you've got a robotic speech that you're knocking on a door, hello, my name is Kevin, I would like to dig in your yard, would you mind? That's not going to get you anywhere. It has to be natural, it has to be from you, and that's why there's no script with this. It has to fit you, your neighborhood, where you are, who you're talking to. It has to be natural. So, but now, by this point, you should be comfortable enough to start knocking on doors, and this is where you can start targeting the houses that you've driven by all these years and thought, that'd be a nice house to detect. But now you can feel confident to go knock on the door and make that ask. Hey, what's the worst can happen? And they'll say no. Well, I guess technically that's not the worst that could happen. Wow, cool old house. This would be a great permission. Let's knock on the door. Hi, my name's Kevin. I do metal detecting as a hobby, and I just was wondering.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Never mind, I'll try next door. Don't know. Yeah, but what are the odds of that happening? So, on to the next. Another possible silver dime right here. And look at that. I love when they pop like that. It's not a silver dime. It's a Washington quarter with a wheat penny. Awesome. So that's why it was ringing a little lower than a quarter, is because it was with the penny. Awesome. So the next thing on the list is more of a personality thing. Its friendliness goes a long way. While I'm detecting a yard, anybody walking by, I'm saying hi. I'm stopping and waving and introducing myself and letting them know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how much fun I have with it. Everybody you meet on the street is just another neighbor that you haven't met yet, or maybe you do know them. Maybe you know them to see, but you don't know them personally or on a personal level. Make that connection. On a similar note, I carry dog biscuits with me, so as I see people out walking their dogs, I can give the dog a biscuit and I can talk to the owner and strike up a conversation. So I get a lot of invitations or a lot of permissions just by talking to people as I'm walking around. Sometimes I'll actually put a finds box with some cool items in it down by the curb that people can stop and look at as they walk by, just to get them hooked and started talking. And they can see that I'm not looking for bars of gold. I'm finding, belt buckles and suspender clips and just buttons and things like that. I'm not looking for valuables so much as interesting historical stuff. So, on to the next. I spy with my little eye something big and green. And I do believe I have the first big copper of the day. From with a house built back in 1802. Yeah, it's a large cent. The house built back in 1802. You'd expect them to drop a penny or two. Alright, well, I'm going to have to do some serious cleaning on it. I see a wreath, but I can't. Oh, yeah, I can see 1 cent right there. The next one, as you're detecting a property, when you're through and you go over all the things you found with the homeowner or whatever, ask for referrals. Hey, do you know any of the neighbors who might be interested? Do you have any friends in the area who might be interested? I get a lot of permissions through referral programs. They might say, hey, Bob next door, he'd love this. Okay, well, hey, now I got a name and I know where to go. Knock on the door, drop the name of the homeowner I was just at, say, hey, so-and-so said you, Bob, might be interested. It helps remove the stranger part from the equation, and now you're not a stranger. You've got a referral from somebody to come knock on that door. Well, I have a screamer down here in the hole. I can see it, and I think it's going to be something pretty cool. So let me carefully get it out of here. Look at that. That is awesome. That is cool. Well, there's some fancy on that little toy gun. Too bad the trigger guard is broken, but otherwise it's in really good shape. Awesome. Awesome. On to the next. Now, as detectors, we do a really good job bragging about the things we find to other detectors. You know, posting on Facebook, making videos like this that other detectorists watch, going to meetings. But how often do you share some of your interesting finds with the Muggle community? The Muggles? You know, the non-detecting folk. The people who know nothing about what we do. They have this mental image of who we are and what we do. It really helps to educate the local population on what it is you do and who you are. So one of the things I do is there's an app. I'm sure there's lots of ways of communicating, but the one I use is called Nextdoor, and it's an app that when you register, it knows the town you're in, and it's like a community bulletin board. So about once a month, once every other month, something like that, I'll take a really interesting find and I'll post a good picture of it on Nextdoor with a 3-part paragraph. Now the first part is very important. The first part is special thanks to Bob for inviting me over to detect his yard. Whether I ask Bob or not, I always say for inviting me over, because it puts in people's minds that people are asking me sometimes to come over and detect. The second part is just a detailed description of what it is. You know, it's a button from the Civil War. It's an ID badge from a steel plant back in the early 1900s or whatever. Just a nice historical summary of what it is that the picture is. And then I close with my contact information and a little blurb about the things I can do to help you with a metal detector if you need it. Finding lost items, finding utility covers and things like that, property line markers. So there's all kinds of things you can do. So put that out there and people can get in touch with you. It helps spread your name around. If you think about that original equation, hard to ask a stranger, easy to say no. I don't get a whole lot of invitations through that app, but what I get is dozens and dozens of people now know who I am in my community. And more people get to know who I am in my community. So when I do approach people, or when they see me on the street, they know that I'm not a stranger. They know who I am. They know what I do. I may not know them, but at least part of that equation has been altered. So I'm no longer a stranger. On the topic of public relations, every single thing that you do to help someone, successfully help someone, you should be making sure that that gets out into the community. You find somebody's ring and return it to them, get an article out, get something on Nextdoor or some other bulletin board app or something like that where the community can see it. You go over, like for instance, I went over to a woman's house and after construction, and I helped find and pick up nails in their yard after work was done because she didn't want her kids getting hurt. That got me a lot of attention in the community for doing a good deed. So anything that you do to help people, make sure everyone else hears about it. So on to the next. Well, I just had that brooch right there, and I came a few steps. Look out here. And now I have a ring. It's a class ring. I'm not going to show what school it is, so I'll see if there's initials in it, and a year, and I'll see if I can't figure out whose it was and get it back to them. That's my first class ring I've ever found. So cool. On to the next. Now you may have noticed that every time I'm out detecting in the neighborhood, I wear my bright orange shirt. It's something I started wearing years ago when I started detecting my aim was to detect in the woods, and I just wanted it for visibility, and I just stuck with it. But it's my brand image. When people see me around town, I get to be known. Over the years, I've gotten to be known as the guy in the orange shirt who goes around looking for history. So again, it just makes me identifiable. So don't do orange, that's my thing. Feel free to do your own thing. But it's just, again, a brand identity, brand awareness. I don't wear it for so much for you on YouTube. I wear it for the people here in town, so that people can see me a block away and they know exactly who I am, and they'll come talk to me rather than me go looking for them. Well, finally something old. It's an awesome shoe buckle. Look at that. It's in great condition. I'll poke around and see if there's any more of it in the hole, but I don't think so. It's a little bit warped, but that's a cool relic. All right, on to the next. And there's a few bonus things that I've thought of that I haven't had to do yet, because like I said, I've got plenty of permissions. One is to put up a display in a public location like the library or the town hall or something like that, just to draw attention to what I do, to more attention, get the word out, just get the word out even more. Public relations is a great thing. Another opportunity that I haven't done is to make a yard sign. You know, like roofers and siding people and gutter people will put a sign out on the curb when they're doing work at a house. Do something like that while I'm detecting. Put a yard sign out at the front yard with my contact information, so the people who don't stop, they can at least see what's going on. Again, just to get the word out a little more. Well, I don't know who detected this yard before me, but I gotta thank them. They left me a lot of cool stuff. It's a tiny little butterfly pin, so I'll clean that up and you'll see it right here. And so now for the bonus thought of the day. By far the biggest impact to me getting permissions throughout town has been that affiliation link. So my wife's work through the church and my work through Scouts has really made a lot of connections through town, opened a lot of doors, and led to a lot of permissions. So by far that was the most useful. So my advice to you is get out, get involved in your community, be a part of your church, be a part of Scouts, be it Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, doesn't matter, 4-H, the Recreation Association, T-Ball, Little League, the Horticultural Society, the Historical Society, the 4th of July Committee. I don't care what it is. Get involved in your community, volunteer for something, be a part of your community. So the more people that get involved in their community, the better the community you're going to have, and everyone's going to have, and that's better than any treasure that you'll find out there. Yeah, it'll lead to a lot of permissions, but it'll lead to a lot of civic engagement in your community, and it's just the right thing to do. So get involved. So see you on the next adventure, and stay tuned.